Well, I've sort of finally managed to get through the calibration. There's something wrong with this scope. I don't know what it is. It's not the battery. The battery's voltage is holding up fine. Um, that's the CTE calibration process just completed, and it's actually fully passed all the calibration tests now, and it's back to where it should be. It's working. Now, a couple of times it's the reason why it was saying failed calibration. The reason why it's saying the non-volatile RAM was corrupted was what happened was when I was doing a self-diagnostics, it wasn't completing. So what I was doing was turning the power off and back on again. And of course, it was halfway through doing a calibration process, so it's corrupted all the data. Okay, so that's the reason why it kept doing that. So that aside, there's nothing actually wrong with the processor board as such. It's because I was turning it off in the middle of a calibration process. Now the reason why it was failing the calibration and the process wouldn't complete was basically because it kept coming up with this problem with the CCDs. Now it was a really weird fault because it's not similar to a normal CCD failure you get. You don't get the strange distorted waveform, but above 100, about 500 nanoseconds, 500 nanoseconds, the sweep would just stop. You couldn't sweep, and that's a clear sign that there's something wrong with the CCD side of it, because that's when the CCDs take over. So I poked around on the bottom of the board, and you can see these are the two CCDs. These are the things that are like rocking horse shit now. You can't get hold of these. These are the things you must keep cool all the time. I've done a number of things, and it seems to be if you let it cool down, it was working fine. But if you leave it on for a while, it starts to piss about again. So you start the calibration, you think you're getting somewhere, and then it locks up where it won't proceed any further, and you have to turn the thing off. It just won't do anything. So you turn it off, you lose all your data, corrupt all your data in your RAM. Anyway, so I was sort of just going around here bashing the board with a sort of like the end of a screwdriver, sort of a bit of a do or die situation. I basically had basically the amplifiers. Got the thing. These are the CCDs. These are the amplifiers. I think these are preamplifiers as well. I'll have to look these up, see what they are, but they are part of this. Basically, the signals fed into the CCDs from here. This is the trigger op amp. This does something else. I can't remember what this does. All these hybrid chips are unique to only a couple of scopes, so you have to be a bit careful. But there's these two chips here, and these are like sit into an insertion socket like a processor. And I sort of was wriggling about one of those and did a restart of it again. It all came back to life and started to it completed its calibration process, and I thought, well, maybe there's something wrong with that. So I've had both of these out and cleaned them up, and I've actually now managed to complete the process, because now I can actually get through the CTE calibration. There was another test here that was really confusing. When I went to... Sorry, this is upside down. If I turn the camera around the other way, it will flip it vertically and it will look really weird. So, in the calibration diagnostic settings, there's a number of different external calibrations. This one here is easy enough to do. You do attenuation and it passes. But there's also channel delay here. And basically that looks at the two inputs and makes sure that the phases are matched together. So basically you put two signals into the input of the scope with a square wave, and it matches those up. But when I was pressing channel delay, when I pressed that, it wanted to do the CTE scan first, CTE cal first, which I've never come across before. The previous scope, which is an earlier model, I think, doesn't do that. Anyway, it got stuck on that. It would not pass on that repeat mode. No idea why. I tried everything, couldn't get it to work. And after I had that chip out that I just mentioned, I ran that through again, and it went straight through. So I'm sort of thinking there is something wrong with that. So anyway, it's working perfectly now. I've still got a signal going into it. The proof will be is to put it up on the bench, I think, and run it for a while, a couple of days, just to see if it's going to behave itself. I think it's getting the point now where it's getting a bit sort of flaky and tired. I have got another battery coming for it. It needs the battery replacing, as Bernie pointed out. I mean, the battery is sort of like 1989, 1990. So what I do, hopefully, to avoid losing calibration, I'll jumper it across my power supply and just to keep the supply up whilst I change the battery. You can actually change the battery and not lose the calibration if you're quick, because there is a diode and a capacitor across there, so the capacitor will hold up for as long as you're sort of fairly quick. I think you've got about 20 minutes or so. It shouldn't take me that long to change it. So at the moment it's working. I'm going to pop it back in its box and we'll run it through a few tests.